The ride of redemption in a small town on the outskirts of a bustling city. There was a tight-knit military family living quietly. Sergeant Marcus Taylor had just returned from a year-long deployment overseas, and his wife, Emma, and their 2 kids were overjoyed to have him back. The Taylors weren't wealthy, but they had a modest home, a strong bond, and a deep respect for one another's lives and sacrifices. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Marcus decided to take his family out for a drive in his old motorcycle. It wasn't anything fancy, just a classic Harley-Davidson that he'd rebuilt with his own hands during his downtime on base. The kids were thrilled, and Emma was happy to see him unwind for a change as they cruised down the main street of their small town. They passed a group of bikers gathered outside the local bar. They were the kind of bikers who made a lot of noise and liked to intimidate people. Loud engines, leather jackets, and an air of arrogance that made it clear they ruled the neighborhood. The bikers, led by a man named Big Tony, didn't take kindly to seeing someone they didn't recognize cruising through their turf. They weren't shy about showing their disdain, and Tony, seeing Marcus in his military jacket, decided to make a point. He revved his engine and cut off Marcus's path, blocking his way on the road. "Hey, soldier!" Tony shouted with a sneer. "Think you can just roll through here like you own the place?" "This is our road." Marcus, with his military discipline, remained calm. He didn't want to escalate the situation. But Tony wasn't having it. "You gonna let your wife and kids see you get punked like this, soldier?" Tony taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. Emma gripped Marcus's arm, worried, but he just looked at her, his face calm. He revved his own engine, a soft growl of power echoing down the street. Marcus said, his tone steady, "But I'll ask you to move aside, sir." Tony wasn't used to people talking back. He lunged toward Marcus, ready to start something. But before anyone could make a move, a voice cut through the air. "Hey, Tony!" It was the town's sheriff, a former soldier himself. "What's going on here?" Tony froze, the sheriff's presence instantly deflating his bravado. The sheriff, an old friend of Marcus's, had seen firsthand what men like Tony could do to someone's sense of security. He wasn't about to let his town or Marcus's family be disrespected. "I'm just teaching the soldier a lesson," Tony muttered, though his confidence was gone well. "Here's a lesson for you," the sheriff said, his voice cold and firm. "This town doesn't tolerate bullying. Marcus is a war hero, and we respect our heroes. You may ride with a loud engine, but it's clear you're the one who doesn't know how to be a man." The sheriff's words hit home, and Big Tony, realizing his mistake, tried to save face by mocking a smile. But his gang, seeing their leader falter, began to back away. The mood in the air shifted. The intimidation had fallen flat. Tony, now aware that the sheriff and his military family weren't to be trifled with, muttered something under his breath before turning his bike around. The rest of the bikers followed suit, revving their engines, but making no further moves. As they sped off down the street, Marcus let out a deep breath and turned to Emma, who gave him a relieved smile. "You were amazing," she whispered. But it wasn't just Marcus who'd won that day. The town had shown that respect and unity were more powerful than the noise of anyone trying to tear it apart. And as the Taylor family drove off, the sheriff gave Marcus a nod of respect. He knew that when push came to shove, the true strength of a community didn't lie in who had the loudest engine, but in who had the most integrity. The bikers learned their lesson that day. Never underestimate a soldier's family. They may not be the loudest in the room, but they sure know how to stand their ground.